A quiet world, empty streets, a first look at the characters. This is a story about how they lived in a world where there was only one man and one woman. Not about the catastrophe or the reasons for the disappearance of others. It will remain in the background, like a whisper on the wind. We'll start in the morning, with an empty city, where the sun rises over empty houses and a voiceover begins to narrate. At first, he calls out the names Mikhail and Anna, but their names are no more important than their steps and breathing. They live next door. Their days are strikingly similar and strikingly different. He is a former engineer. She is a literature teacher. He remembers diagrams. She remembers poetry. He can fix a bicycle engine. She knows how to light a fire out of paper. For them, the morning begins with loneliness, but not with despair, rather with the habit of being attentive to the world, which is now unusually quiet. They didn't meet right away the first days or exploration. He wanders the streets, marks places with supplies on the map. She studies the library and writes down recipes for medicinal herbs. Their first meetings are cautious, like a tentative note in music, an exchange of glances through the window, a kind word left on the steps, a small transfer of water in a bottle. They learn to trust step by step. This introductory fragment also includes simple household details: how they divide the water, who comes to whom for tools, how they check houses for dangers. All this sounds like a steady rhythm, like a metronome that holds life together. Visual suggestions: panorama of a deserted city at dawn, close-ups of hands, map sheets, empty playgrounds, quiet music. Accents on the sounds of footsteps and wind. 7:59, 00 main content. In this part, we will guide the listener through the months and years. The first weeks are a test of endurance. They set up common warehouses, exchange things, create rules: who hunts, who stores grain, how to distribute medicines. The rules are simple: honesty, respect for other people's work, mutual assistance. Gradually, their relationship becomes the core of a small civilization. They are building a shared house of 2 apartments, equipping a kitchen, a workshop, and a library. Mikhail develops a hobby. He repairs a generator that gives them light in the evenings. Anna has a garden where she experiments with seeds. Together, they remember what the world used to look like, and decide which habits to keep and which to let go. A lot goes through their conversations, about music, about books, about old movies, about the children they could have, and about those they have already lost. These conversations become a ritual. In the evening, by candlelight, they read aloud to each other their favorite passages, poems, letters, survival instructions. The story smoothly turns to the issue of procreation and responsibility. This is not a simple plot twist. It's a long and careful decision-making process. They discuss genetics, morality, and the future. Is it worth striving for the rebirth of humanity if there are only 2 left? What values should I convey? How much risk should I take by giving birth to a child who won't be able to know other people? These dialogues do not give clear answers right away. They write down their thoughts in notebooks, make calculations, consult distant remnants of information, medical manuals, archives, notes of scientists found on the web, and printed books. Part of the story is devoted to practical aspects: the preservation of genetic material, attempts to find sperm and egg banks, experiments with cloning and artificial insemination. All this is shed through the prism of their ethical choice. In the end, they choose a path that combines respect for the natural and respect for the possible future. Between these difficult decisions are simple, touching scenes: learning to read under the moon, the first lessons of swimming in the river, building a swing, laughing from unexpected games. They teach each other crafts. Anna teaches Mikhail to read poetry aloud so that the words become warm. Mikhail teaches Anna to repair bicycles so that they can travel further from the city. The narrative shows how their days are filled with meaning, working on the land, repairing tools, studying, searching for cultural treasures, preserving history. It is also a story of loss and grief. They bury those who died in the first days of the outbreak, bury old habits, bury illusions. But every act of burial is a place for a new crop. They plant a tree on the site of an old house and give it a name. It's time for experiments. They rebuild a small hospital that can treat simple injuries, learn how to sew clothes, and apply knowledge about agriculture to create a sustainable supply of food crops. Seasons pass: summer, autumn, winter, spring, and tasks change with them. Life slows down in winter. They share fuel, reduce expenses, and use the library as a place for evening meetings. In the summer, they go hiking in deserted cities, taking seeds, books, and tools. These trips are like small expeditions, where they check the radio stations, listen to the airwaves in case someone else is calling. Sometimes you get lucky. A fragment of the recording comes from far corners of the world, sometimes nothing. Their hope is not based on probability, but on a determination to preserve humanity. In between, life is full of moments of intimacy and tenderness, shared breakfasts, touching, minor quarrels, and reconciliation. The story does not romanticize their loneliness. There is fear, jealousy, anger, and despair, and all these emotions are resolved through dialogues and rituals of forgiveness. A separate part of the main chapter is devoted to children as an idea and as a reality. They decide to have a child, not only for the sake of procreation, but to pass on culture, language, and ethics. It takes months to prepare. They study genetics, reproductive ethics, build a healthcare system, and stock up on medicines for childbirth. The birth of a child is the culmination of their joint work and personal history. Childbirth is described not clinically, but humanely. Fear, joy, dim light, cold night, and the cry of a new voice. The child is the center of their world, a new responsibility, a new hope. They learn to be parents in front of the listener. They teach the child to walk, talk, understand the world around them. Explain what happened before and why everything has changed so much. Naturally, the problem of genetic diversity remains. They discuss how to avoid problems, how to preserve the health of future generations, and take steps, collecting DNA samples from animals, plant seeds. Studying archives of genetic databases, attempts to clone endangered species of flora and fauna. All this is woven into the fabric of their daily work. The story is also filled with small triumphs: a grown crop, a book restored from fragments, a musical evening where they play instruments made with their own hands for the first time. But there are also losses, illnesses, unforeseen disasters, lonely days of sadness, and arguments about the future. Their relationship is going through trials. Sometimes someone goes alone for a week to think about a decision, sometimes they quarrel late into the night. But they always return to what makes them a family: joint maintenance of peace. Inside the main part, a lot of time is devoted to philosophical digressions, questions about the meaning of society, the role of language in preserving memory, the nature of love and responsibility. The narrator does not give unambiguous moral lessons, but invites the listener to reflect. He quotes the stories and letters they found in the archives, introduces diary entries that are read aloud, and through them the inner life of the characters is revealed. Also in this part, a lot of attention is paid to the creation of traditions, holidays that they come up with, ceremonies of commemoration and harvest celebrations that help them determine the rhythm of time and give the child roots for identity. The narrative is slow, but not static. It alternates work scenes with late-night conversations, travel with household chores, melancholy with joy. A significant part of their time is devoted to how they document their lives, video recordings, book collections, music collections, saving recipes and treating illnesses. They leave all this in the hope that someday someone will find their records and find out who they were. Their bodies change over the years, but traditions remain. The child grows up with a sense of responsibility and with a love for old stories. The house is filled with the sounds of new voices and old voices recorded on a tape recorder. The narrator sums up what they have achieved: not a political utopia or an ideal civilization, but a stable, human life formed from care, work, and continuous learning. He notes that humanity in their performance has become smaller, but deeper, that the meaning of procreation is not just the quantity, but the quality of relationships. The ability to transfer knowledge and empathy. In the final shots, they are sitting on the porch, watching the sunset, holding hands with old people and a young adult, who is now asking questions about his future. They know that their choices have influenced the next chapter of history. The narrator closes by saying that this story is not an instruction, but an invitation. What would we do in their place? What values would we save? He ends with a gentle good-night wish and a reminder that even in the most empty places, you can find company if you have the determination to build and protect life. And at the last moment, the listener is invited to imagine, somewhere in the world, maybe there are more people, maybe not, but these two people live, love, and leave a mark. Good night.